What's up? This is Robert, and I'm filming this at Hard Rock Hotel in Las Vegas. It's 3:30 a.m. All right, so right now it's dark and it's about to get light. All right, the sun is about to come up. So there's these cycles of light and dark, right? And our bodies are attuned, our bodies respond to the light and the dark in the environment. When it gets dark, our body produces melatonin. When it gets light outside, our bodies start to wake up. Okay. Now, what we need to ask is what's the emotional way to look at light and dark? Or can you think of emotions in terms of light and dark? I think the answer is yes, because if you look at our language and how we say things like, I'm going through a dark period right now, emotionally, we understand what that means. Okay, it means you're either sad, angry, frustrated, too much anxiety, you're panicking, right? That's darkness. Now, why do the negative emotions have such an association with darkness? Well, I don't know. Is it because when darkness is out, is that when we are most vulnerable as like prey to other animals? Like, is that why? Does it have something to do with when it's dark outside and our body, wants to sleep and shut down? We're kind of shutting down, and so if you're depressed, going through a period of darkness, then your body just can't get out of that like lethargic state. I don't know, but what I have been noticing is that darkness, I mean, apart from being obviously unpleasant, in a way might be inevitable. But what's important is, can we transition out of darkness into light whenever we want? And that's a question that matters to me, a question that interests me. So here's my answer, okay? Because I had to deal with this a couple weeks ago, when I was really sleep deprived, and I was having a very challenging week where emotionally I started to get like really, really paranoid, almost like, I can give a hypothetical example. Like, imagine a psychic tells you that you're going to have a bad week, or something bad's going to happen in the week. You'll start to like psych yourself out and start to think like, geez, what's going to happen? And you might start to bring that about. Well, here's the thing, okay? You're going to fear like, jinxing it, right? You could say like, what's an example? Like, let's say you think you're going to get in a car accident, right? And then let's say, because a psychic tells you, right? Psychic tells you you're going to get in a car accident. So you go through your week thinking about the car accident, and let's say it just so happens that you get in a fender bender, right? Now the question is, was that foreseen by the psychic, or was it just happenstance, right? There's really no way to tell, okay? Now, if the psychic tells you you're going to get in a car accident, I would ask, okay, well, what day, what time, so then I can be sure to stay home, right? And they make movies about this where, people have this fate and then they try to avoid it, but then they end up still getting like, emergency happens and they still have to drive. They have to leave the house and drive somewhere, and then they end up getting in the accident. All right? And movies like that create this sense of panic, right? Like there's no way out. But really, you got to ask, like, okay, so where does that panic come from? Panic comes from this. Look at evolutionary psychology. Throughout evolution, where was it useful to have this emotion? It was useful when we were being chased by predators, right? We get the panic, the emotion sets in, temporary darkness, right? Then, as soon as we escape our predator, then we can go back into light and like happy feelings or whatever. And that pattern right there, the fight or flight response, the survival response, that actually, I believe, is portrayed in movies over and over through a common plot line. Ask yourself how many movies you've seen where the plot line is like starts out all happy sunshine rainbows, right? Then some sort of evil villain or force steps in. Okay, uh, whether it's like that Uncle Scar in The Lion King, or aliens trying to take over the planet Earth, whatever, right? Some sort of evil force attempting to impose darkness over everything. Then, final battle, climax of the story, that some superhero representing goodness, like, defeats that threat of darkness, and then sunshine prevails at the end. That's Lion King, that's Batman, like all sorts of movies, right? So then you got to ask, why are these humans walking around the planet making movies about this response, right? Well, to me, it's a sign that response is that sequence is very important to us as humans, right? And I think the most important part is the resolution, right? Like, we're bound to enter periods of darkness where things get rough, things get intimidating, and make us fearful, or make us really sad for a while. But if we're going to be strong, and we're going to be, the existence first philosophy is about self-empowerment, freedom, choosing your life. So if we're going to stay true to that, then what we need to do is we need to be very good at transitioning out of that darkness into light. We have to be very good at defeating the darkness, okay? And here's how you do it. I hinted at it earlier. You think scientifically, right? You think as a scientist would, because a scientist experiments. The way I got out of that difficult week a few weeks ago was, I said, okay, if this is really true, I told this to a friend, okay, if it's really true that I'm destined to be thwarted in this task I'm trying to accomplish, then hey, that it's not going to happen today. But if I text you in 3 hours that, hey, I successfully did this task I'm about to attempt to do, then that's a sign to the contrary. That's evidence to the contrary. So I went about trying to accomplish this task, and I did. And that success felt so good, and it started to pull me out of that darkness. All right, so what is that? That represents agency. It's a return to self-agency, which is the opposite of learned helplessness. All right, I have other videos on learned helplessness, and you can also research Martin Seligman for more information on that. But to me, that's a very essential part of being human. Is, we look, like, it's something simple. I could take this piece of paper, right, and a pen. I could be like, I'm gonna write a word right now, and then I write apple, A-P-P-L-E. Wrote it, completed, done. Right there, I exercised freedom and self-agency. Right now, you do that enough, you'll come out of like any period of darkness, because now you are deciding what you want to cause in the environment, and then you cause it. So, all right, where do we wrap up? This is a very important concept, and I mean, it's in all the literature. I mean, the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? The guy at nighttime, he becomes evil. He becomes Mr. Hyde, I believe, and then during the day, he's Dr. Jekyll. Is very very like well known, like good reputation guy. So that flip represents how, as people, we can go, like as human beings, like we can emotionally, we can go into a place of darkness, but we can also be in a place of light. And so we got to figure out, like, okay, well, yeah, it's normal to like mourn the loss of loved ones, and this and that, right? There's a cycle to it, but how long is enough, right? How much darkness is enough? If you dip into it for a brief period and you want to come out, you should be able to come out. And so the lesson that I'm trying to articulate here is, That is scientific thinking, experimental thinking, right? Because if you do that, I'll guarantee you the sun is going to come up very soon.